The Beringer story starts in the late 1800s with two brothers who emigrated from Germany to pursue their career ambitions. Frederick, the older brother, soon owned a successful barley malt company in New York and hobnobbed with members of the elite such as future President Grover Cleveland. Jacob, on the other hand, aspired to carry on the family's winemaking tradition in the New World. So he followed his passion west to California, where he was delighted to discover rocky, well-drained soils similar to those in his native Rhine Valley. In 1876, with Jacob's vision and Frederick's business savvy and firstborn inheritance money, Beringer Vineyards was born. The 215-acre property Jacob Beringer purchased is still the heart of the Beringer Vineyards Napa Valley estate. It included what is now called the St. Helena Home Vineyard and continues to be a source for the private reserve Cabernet. The next several years were a flurry of activity for Jacob. He orchestrated the excavation of Spring Mountain to create aging tunnels for favorable, cool storage conditions. He designed his new stone winery around the traditional European gravity flow system. It wasn't long before Jacob started entering his wines in contests both in the U.S. and abroad. At the Paris Exposition in 1889, they struck silver with their Riesling. In 1915, they struck gold with their Zinfandel at the Pan-Pacific Exposition in San Francisco. The two likable German brothers' vision had grown into a successful winery. In 1883, big brother Frederick decided to build a monument to his success. The stately Victorian quickly became the most elegant home of all of the old Napa Valley wine families. Reminiscent of the family's impressive old German home at Mainz on the Rhine, the landmark Rhine House, at the time known as Villa Beringer, was completed for the then princely sum of $28,000. Brother Jacob decorated his country lane by planting the elm trees along the country road out front. Prohibition was enacted in 1920. While other cellars failed, Bertha Beringer and her brother Charles managed the winery through the industry's greatest crisis. It has been said of Prohibition that never before or since have so many churches gone up in America. Sacramental wines were to be the winery's salvation and gave Beringer the distinction of being the oldest continuously operating winery in Napa Valley. With the first harvest after repeal, it was wine country's time to celebrate. In May 1934, Beringer did something quite extraordinary. The winery opened its doors to the public for tours and tastings. It was something never before done in the Napa Valley and began the area's wine tourist business. Over 5,000 people showed up. It was Fred Abruzzini, the first non-family member to manage the winery, who first recognized the showplace potential of the old stone cellars and tunnels. Fred's winemaking and management skills were only exceeded by his talents as a promoter. A born publicist, soon he was greeting and photographing celebrities like Clark Gable, Carole Lombard, Deanna Dors, Rod Steiger, Rudy Valley, and Charles Lawton. The war years on the home front seemed an eternity to Beringer. At its end, men returning from the war had tasted fine European wines and wanted more. California's wine industry began to flourish. Beringer continued to earn the trust of the burgeoning wine-consuming population with countless medals for the quality of their wines. The 1970s were pivotal years for Beringer. Long one of Napa Valley's quality leaders, Beringer was about to step up to icon status.
The 70s, when Myron came, 71, were a rebirth for the Napa Valley and Beringer. He was one of the people that brought the wine business back. Beringer was infinitely lucky to get him to come here, and Myron's job was basically to bring Beringer into the 20th century. I was hired by Myron Nightingale in 1976, and for me, working for Myron was like working for the master. Having been in the business for over 30 years, he had 30 harvests under his belt. It's the only way you can really learn is to work for a mentor, and he was my mentor. One of the things the Beringers did right is have great vineyards. And when Bob Steinhauer was added to the mix, these great vineyards were just optimized to the nth degree. He took them to another level. And Bob had actually worked with Myron Nightingale. Bob had lots of experience by now. He added a level of expertise to the management of the vineyards that allowed a person like me. I mean, one of Bob's favorite sayings is, "I deliver your diamonds, Ed, now don't mess them up."
When Myron retired in 1984, he left the winery in capable hands. Through Ed and Bob's vision and hard work, we would rise to the pinnacle of distinction. Beringer is the only winery to have been rated #1 for both a Chardonnay and Cabernet. Our 1986 Private Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon was rated Wine of the World by the Wine Spectator. Then our 1994 Private Reserve Chardonnay was rated Wine of the World by the Wine Spectator. Beringer still holds the record for more Top 100 Wine Spectator placements than any other winery.
What I see is that with this great stable of great vineyards, we're assured of making Private Reserve on beyond this century to the next. And my hope is that what Bob and I have done is establish a foundation for making a Private Reserve.
When the Beringer brothers came to Napa Valley, they had a vision to produce quality wines in a newly discovered land. They and their successors succeeded beyond their dreams. They created an icon.